Hello everybody, this is Crowbar Animation, and today, in honor of reaching 2,000 subscribers, we will be doing our 2,000 subscriber Q&A special. But before we start, I just want to say thank you to everyone who got me to this milestone. I couldn't have reached this milestone without you guys, and I just want to say I really appreciate the support. Now, let's get into all the questions you guys asked me. So our first question comes from Zorny, who asks, what is my favorite dromaeosaur? And I probably have to say the Utah Raptor, because it's like the real-life version of the Jurassic Park Velociraptor, except bigger. Our next set of questions come from Cafe 1.0, who asks, when am I going to make another contest? Will that contest be a dinosaur fight stop-motion themed? Is it good to use tripods when making a stop-motion? And how to make a good stop-motion? So first question, I will probably make another contest pretty soon. Second, it probably won't be a dinosaur fight themed contest, considering we've already done a dinosaur fight themed contest in the past. And yes, it's really good to have a tripod during filming a stop motion, because it keeps your camera steady and it makes it hard to move your camera out of shot unless you purposely want to. And for the fourth question, how to make a good stop motion. So the main thing is that you need to take your time on your stop motion, because if you rush through it, it probably won't be as good quality and you'll most likely have mistakes that you would have seen if you'd taken your time while making it. So the main thing to making a good stop motion is patience. Our next set of questions come from New Generation Dinosaurs, who asks, what happened to Zenith? Am I still planning on making Godzilla 2? Will I be backing the Mattel project? What are my thoughts on the Mattel project? What's my ranking of Jurassic Park movies? Have you ever thought about changing your logo? What's the rarest figure in my collection? Thoughts on the Hammond Collection Metracanthosaurus? And are colossal dinosaur figures a good or bad idea? So for what happened with Zenith, if I'm being honest, life got in the way. I got pretty busy. I was trying to keep up a one video a day schedule, and unfortunately that gave me very little time to work on Zenith, and then I just kind of overall forgot about it. I'll eventually try to finish up Zenith, but I guess I'm just kind of taking a break from it right now. As for Godzilla 2, there's actually a point where I started filming on it. Some of you might remember the community posts I made about it. But I kind of lost interest for it, and I guess if I were to regain that interest, then yes, I would probably make a Godzilla 2. As for the Mattel project, I probably wouldn't have supported it, because from as far as I know, if they didn't get enough backers, then you would just put your money in for nothing, and you would have gotten nothing out of it. As for my ranking for the Jurassic movies, I would have to say, my first favorite would probably be Jurassic Park, you know, the classic. My second would probably be Jurassic World. My third would probably be Jurassic World Dominion. My fourth would probably be Jurassic Park 3. My fifth would probably be Jurassic Park 2. And my sixth would probably be Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. As for changing my logo, I probably wouldn't change it, but I probably would update it, because, I literally made my logo in the stop motion studio drawing feature. But anyway, my point is I would probably update it, but I honestly don't know any softwares or any apps that I could do to use that. Please let me know if you know any. But I would definitely update my logo, but I probably wouldn't change it. Now, as for my rarest figure, I honestly don't know how to check if something's like pretty rare or not. At one point, my super colossal Giganotosaurus was my rarest, but then it comes out and everyone buys it, or everyone just sees it in the store. But I guess my point is that I don't know if I have any extremely rare figures, because a lot of times I can get a figure early and it will be extremely rare, but then it'll come out to the public and it won't be rare anymore. Now, as for the Metracanthosaurus, I really like it. They always fix something that was wrong with the last figure when they make another Hammond Collection figure. The jaw is a lot more easier to move than some of the older figures. Also, I like how they're referencing to the Jurassic World Evolution Metracanthosaurus with this figure, and I would love to see more Jurassic World Evolution Hammond Collection figures. And yes, I think the super colossal dinosaur figures are a good idea, just not for the reason you think. You see, it'd be really hard to play with one because of how big it is, but the thing is that I think its main purpose is to be a storage containment for smaller dinosaur figures. Our next question comes from Studio 16, who asks, what is my favorite Hammond Collection figure, and am I excited for Jurassic Park 4? Now, usually I'd say my favorite Hammond Collection figure is the Jurassic World Hammond Collection T-Rex, but with some of their newer releases such as the Irritator, I'm starting to like some of those better. I really like the Irritator because of its design and its articulation, and it's probably currently my favorite Jurassic World Hammond Collection figure. Now as for the JP4 question, I'd be very excited for it if it came out. Our next set of questions come from MH Edis, who asks, who inspired me to do stop motion animation, what is my favorite stop motion I've ever made, what is my favorite figure, and would I ever collab with him sometime? So the person who really inspired me to do stop motion animation was Stickbot Central and his original movies and series. I would watch them all the time, and they're always a great source of inspiration for videos. For the second question, I honestly don't know if I have a favorite stop motion I've made, because I always like my stop motions for how good their quality is. And it feels like every time I make a stop motion, I always improve in something. So every time I improve in something, that stop motion thus becomes my new favorite stop motion I made. But since I feel like I'm always improving in something, I never really have a favorite stop motion for long. As for my favorite figures, it would either be some of the newer Hammond collections such as the Irritator and Metricanthosaurus, or it would be the Hammond Collection T-Rex. And for the fourth question, yes, we could probably collab sometime. Next up, we have Leopold Films with his 3 questions, which are, do you think the Five Nights at Freddy's movie will have too many cameos? Are there any other dinosaur movies besides Jurassic World that you like? And will I ever do a Supercell 3? No, I honestly don't think there will be too many cameos in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. As a matter of fact, I'd love to see more cameos. We've already seen the Koryak Kenshin taxi scene and the Employee of the Month Award with Dawko, 8-Bit Ryan, and Fusion X Gamer. Unless the cameos are affecting the quality of the movie, I honestly don't care how many cameos there are. Yes, there are some other dinosaur movies that I like that aren't Jurassic Park or Jurassic World related. One such movie would be the Dinosaur Project. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, and if you haven't, I would highly suggest watching it. It's been a while since I watched it, so I don't remember much about it, but I do remember it was filmed like from the perspective of a video camera, which is a very interesting element for the film. I also really liked 65, even though the dinosaur designs were a bit unrealistic, but I still really liked the film, and I kind of feel like with the unrealistic dinosaur designs, they're trying to do their own thing, which is very creative. For his final question, there is the possibility for another Supercell, but I just don't think it would fit into my channel very well nowadays, considering that most of my stop motions are now about Jurassic Park, Godzilla, Five Nights at Freddy's, that sort of stuff. It's possible I could make another Supercell, but it's unlikely. Our next set of questions come from Too Easy Compost Site Edits, who asks, who inspired me to make stop motions? How many Hammond Collection dinosaurs do I have? What is my favorite stop motion I've made? And what is my favorite Jurassic Park / Jurassic World movie? As we mentioned earlier, the person who inspired me to make stop motions was Stickbot Central. Also, I have a total of 14 Hammond Collection dinosaurs. Also, as we said earlier, I really don't think I have a favorite stop motion animation I made, but my number one favorite Jurassic Park / Jurassic World movie has to be Jurassic Park. Our next question comes from Spikezilla, who asks, why ever animate with Transformer figures? Even though I am a fan of the Transformer movies, I probably wouldn't animate with a Transformer figure. The one time I actually got a Transformer figure to animate with, I couldn't figure out how to transform it, which makes me sound stupid. But either way, I'm just not really that big enough of a fan of Transformers to animate about it. Our next question comes from Shoeshot and Pasaka, who asks, will I be making another stop-motion dinosaur contest? And yes, I probably will in the near future. Our next question comes from Tyrannosaurus Productions, who asks, what is my favorite Jurassic Park / World movie and why? I have to say, I think my favorite movie in the Jurassic franchise is probably Jurassic Park 1 because of just how terrifying it is, rather than the other movies which feel more like an action movie. A great example of this can be seen in the Jurassic Park T-Rex breakout scene, how the entire scene plays out with no music in the background, and it's just terrifying. Also, I will say that you can probably go back and watch some of my older Q&As and you'll see that I have different favorite Jurassic Park movies around that time, but my opinion is always changing, and a lot of times I will say I like Jurassic World better, and then the next week, oh, I like Jurassic Park better. Our next set of questions come from Batbat, who asks, do I have any Jurassic World LEGO sets? What are my favorite dinosaurs? What was my first ever dinosaur stop motion? When is my next dinosaur stop motion contest? And what is my first ever Jurassic Park / World figure? For the first question, yes, as you can probably see in some of my older videos, I have LEGO Jurassic World sets. For the second question, my favorite dinosaur is probably the Spinosaurus. My first ever dinosaur stop motion was where I had a T-Rex from the 2018 Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom toy line go around my city and just constantly eat people, and that was all it was. I'm pretty sure I called it T-Rex Attack, but since it was one of my first stop motions, it wasn't very good at all. As for my next stop motion contest, I'll probably do another one in the near future, but I don't have a set date for it yet. And for the final question, my first Jurassic World / Jurassic Park toy I ever got was this 2018 Thrash and Throw Tyrannosaurus Rex. Also, this is the figure that I made my first dinosaur stop motion with. Our next question comes from Furrys Motion, who asks, do I ever use to plan my name in the channel, and what is my main goal for subs on YouTube? I probably won't ever use my full name on the channel, but I might use my first name eventually. Also, I really don't have an overall subscriber goal that I want my channel to reach. And for his third question, if green equals Mozart and dog smells like purple, add 2000 metal pipe dropping sounds with 3 angry cat colors, how many bites of 87 can you smell? Yeah, we're just skipping that question. For our next two questions, both Ben High Tide and Spectrum A asked, what is my favorite video or stop motion I've ever made? And as I mentioned earlier, I really don't have a favorite. Our next question comes from Nissan Stop Motion, who asks, what's my favorite kaiju? What's my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's game? And would I ever collab with him? My favorite kaiju is probably the legendary Godzilla, but if we're not including Godzilla variants, then my favorite kaiju would probably have to be Biollante. Also, my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's game probably has to be Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Also, for collabing, we could probably collab sometime. Our next question comes from Ben High Tide, and he asks, what is my favorite dinosaur? And my favorite dinosaur is the Spinosaurus. Our next few questions come from Factsharkpro 6867, who asks, do I collect figures in general like Spider-Man and Legos? And I mainly collect Jurassic Park figures and Godzilla figures and Five Nights at Freddy's figures. Sometimes I collect other figures, but I mainly collect those 3 genres. His second question is, what type of background or type of set do you recommend for stop motion? Well, you definitely need to make sure that that set is consistent with the height of the character you're using for the stop motion. Also, if you can't have furniture or actual props, I definitely recommend using a green screen. And for his final question, he asks, do I plan to make a stop motion with superheroes like Batman or Spider-Man? I probably wouldn't make a stop motion only with superheroes, but I could probably do an interaction between like Jurassic Park dinosaurs and a fight between a superhero. That'd be pretty interesting. Our next question comes from Rexy2576, who asks, how big is my collection for Five Nights at Freddy's and Godzilla figures? Unfortunately, my collection for Godzilla figures only consists of an SH Monster Arts Mechagodzilla and an SH Monster Art 2019 Godzilla. But my Five Nights at Freddy's figure collection is a bit bigger with 15 figures. Our next question comes from NewBaretro7487, who asks, how many stickbots do I have? And if I'm being completely honest, I don't know. A lot of them are scattered throughout my house and I wouldn't be able to find them all and count them up. And our second question from him is, can I make Supercell 3? And as I mentioned earlier, there's a possibility for me making it, but it's unlikely. Our next question comes from Beverly James 6406, who asks, how many stickbots do I have? And again, it would take a ton of time to count them all. Next up, he asks, what kind of Xenomorph figure do I have? NECA or Lantern? And I'm pretty sure it's a NECA figure. And finally, can I do a Five Nights at Freddy's Jurassic Park stop motion? Well, recently I did a short video where I did a Five Nights at Freddy's 4 Jurassic Park parody, but I could probably do a full-length video about it in the future. Our next questions come from King Carno 423, who asks, what is my favorite FNAF animatronic? What's my favorite monster from Godzilla? And do I prefer pancakes or waffles? I think my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's animatronic has to be Funtime Freddy. He's absolutely terrifying in my opinion, not only because his face opens up like the rest of the Funtimes do, but I think his voice is very creepy and terrifying. Also, as I mentioned earlier, my favorite monster in the Monsterverse has to be Godzilla, but if I were to exclude Godzilla, then it would probably have to be Biollante. Also, I'm more of a pancake kinda guy. Our next set of questions come from Shoeshot and Pasaka3890, who asks, who is my most hated character from Camp Cretaceous Season 4 and 5? Am I still doing live streams and will I collab with him? I really don't hate any characters from Camp Cretaceous, and I have been a tad bit busy which has prevented me from doing live streams. But for the last question, maybe we can collab someday. Next, Ben Hightide asks, am I going to be making Zenith Episode 3? And I have been pretty busy lately, but I'll try to get back to it soon. And for the final question of the Q&A, Mr. Motion Studios asks, do I like turtles? And what is the best Jurassic Park stop motion I've seen on YouTube so far? First of all, yes. And second of all, some of the best Jurassic Park stop motions I've seen on YouTube have come from this community, so thank you for being a part of it. Anyway, that's all for this Q&A. If I forgot to answer or accidentally skipped over your question, please let me know in the comments section and I will probably answer it there. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and again, thank you for all the support and for getting me to 2,000 subscribers. I couldn't have done it without you guys. But anyway, that's all for now. This is